I think Ray Robson, one can almost say, is Hans's kryptonite for now. It's out for Hans to prove otherwise.
Chess, nonsense, and analysis.
Yes, Watu, here we are again. What are we looking at today?
Today we have a look at the US Championships because, we've been following. And what's happening there? You are more clued up than I am.
Yes, so it's been interesting. Lots of drama along the way, as if you checked out our last show on the US Championship. So now it's current standings after 9, I think. We have Fabiano Caruana on 5.5, the leader. And then,
still leading him?
Yes, still leading with 5.5. And then second is Awanda Liang, just half a point behind him on 5. The two of them just played, so they drew their encounter. Fabiano had the white pieces, so it was a tall ask for the young GM. But okay, so they are the Fabiano's leading by half a point, and then Liang. And then there's 3 players on 4.5, basically a point behind the lead. Ray Robson, Levon Aronian, and Hans Niemann. So 2 rounds to go. Interesting stuff. I think Fabi has all to lose at the moment, but anything can happen in those last 2 rounds.
What I noticed is that Hans Niemann was doing well. But it seemed that he stumbled against a guy who apparently is now becoming his kryptonite.
Yes, one can almost say this. So if we jump over to the board, so he played Ray Robson. So Ray Robson, of course, is a young grandmaster from the United States, and I think is most famous for being like the best or the strongest guy in Puzzle Rush. I think he might be the world champion in Puzzle Rush. So I've seen the guy do it few years ago, and he's an absolute monster.
He was in the US team, right? Yeah.
Oh, yes, he also made the US team. Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
So yes, Ray, up-and-coming grandmaster there, just coming back from the Olympiad, and facing Hans Niemann, of course, the main guy that's surging up the ranks there in the US, but these are the youngsters. So Ray is one of them. And if you look at I kind of filtered the encounters in the last 3 encounters on my chess base is saying that Ray has got a 2.5 out of 3 score. The 3 encounters that they had, all of them in 2022 though.
Significant, yeah? Because in a sense that Hans has now really improved from where he was. He was already always a super GM, but he's become even stronger. And to have that record against him now, it speaks volumes, huh?
Definitely, and I think those 2 victories were with the black pieces. But okay, now they are facing each other in the US Championships 2024, and Ray's got the white pieces. So let's have a look at the game.
Exciting, yeah?
Yeah, okay, let's start. So Ray's got the white pieces, Hans has got the black pieces. We've got Ray Lopez, Berlin, very popular, of course. And Ray already displays that he wants to fight, right, with D3, Bishop C5. And we've seen this a lot. This is one of the ways to fighting against Berlin, taking in, eventually putting the knight on D2.
Just play against the structure, saying that those double pawns eventually will tell against black, yeah?
Yes. Bishop E6. And white plays D4. So it's curious how white played D3 early on, and now he sees a moment to play D4. I guess because black hosted his bishops like this, D4 would make sense, right? Black cannot take, of course.
Yeah, there's a pattern. The bishop on D6 and the knight on F6 can be forked. So immediately put some bit of pressure on black, yeah?
Yes. Okay, knight D7. Trade. Black has the bishops. White has this extra central pawn. Black tries to fight back in the center. Check. So, okay, he induces this G6 move, then drops back to E2. X-raying the black queen.
This is, for me, Kelvin, a very interesting battle because if you think about it, I mean, okay, black has got the two bishops, but structurally, white is very sound. Yeah, no structural weaknesses for white. And so in a way, if white can maintain this structure and maybe trade one of the bishops, then white is looking good, isn't it?
Good, yes, indeed. So black is banking on these bishops, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but
What
how
is your
does...
feeling? I mean, who would you prefer? Which side would you take here, white or black?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think
Yeah.
I mean, especially with this G6 move, I don't know. Without now knowing the result of the game, it kind of feels a bit open here. So
Mhm.
I'm not particularly excited about black's position,
Yeah.
but I actually don't know who's better. If white can get these pieces into play quickly and then use its majority, I would prefer white. The bishops aren't really peaking yet. I guess white can
Yeah.
also close the position. So the bishops need to get that freedom. So I'm tending towards white. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's just
I agree. I agree
probably
with
my
you.
feeling.
I agree with you. I'm also leaning more towards white. And you see, I'm also worried about black squares, the dark squares, because I don't see how you could eventually stop some knight f3, and maybe I want to swap the bishops,
Yes.
with the b3, bishop d4. And then if I do that, your position would obviously collapse. And I think that black has got more to answer, more problems to, it looks very difficult to play for black, practically at least, no?
Yes, definitely. So,
Mhm.
okay, rook d1 was played, x-raying the queen, so the queen goes to e8.
Mhm.
And yeah, that move comes in. White kind of wants to just not allow the position to completely open up, right? So e5,
Yeah,
bishop
focus on the
c5.
black square. So this is, of course, I think Hans must fight to keep that bishop alive, because if white can play knight b3, bishop e3, and
Trade
exchange
the
the
dark
bishop,
square bishops. The black
then it's
is in
definitely
trouble on
better.
the dark squares, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So knight b3, bishop e7.
Mhm.
Okay. Queen f7. And interestingly enough, knight c5. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, this is a very interesting decision, but I think it's a good positional decision because if you trade your knight c5, I mean, if black trades, it would be bishops of opposite color, but as we know, it's always about who can attack first. And I think white has got the ingredients for a very strong attack there, no? Like b3, rook d3, rook h3, then yeah, the black
Yeah,
squares.
for sure. I
Um,
think black's king is slightly more awkward
yeah,
than white's, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, definitely. Mhm.
yeah. So bishop c4. So that there's still some danger in that opposite color bishops, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah,
b6, b3.
interesting
Okay.
move.
Bishop drops back, and they trade off knight for bishop. So now
Right.
we're sitting in a same color bishop position. White has this extra pawn in the center. So black looks
It's
a
a very interesting decision that Ray Robson makes. I mean, it wouldn't be the first thing that would come to my mind, because
yeah.
the white bishop is slightly worse than the black bishop, but I think he's banking on structure
Yes.
and activity, and yeah, it's an interesting decision. Mhm.
Yeah. Queen e2,
Mhm.
a5. He doesn't want to allow black to open up or play a4 himself, right? So a4,
Yeah,
rook to d8. h3 is just a useful move,
of
preparing for the
course.
future. h5, bishop f2, rook to d5. Black is still
Mhm.
planning on doubling up, so c4. Black drops
I think
back.
the main problem for black is that black doesn't have counterplay, because for counterplay you need a pawn break,
Exactly.
and he felt like he had to play h5 to stop white's g4. So white is calling the shots here, definitely.
Yeah.
Black is the argument that black has is that, okay, my position is solid enough to hold, and white must prove that there is something here. Yeah.
Yeah. I fully
Mhm.
agree. Nicely put there, Watu. So queen e1, bishop e4, queen e2. And yeah, Hans is kind of throwing in an informal repetition request, right? So
Right.
just bishop b4 and bishop drop back. So white is invited to play queen e1 again and bishop e4. And if you notice, and this is actually a bit of a trend, right? If the one side, this is typical in the game, if one side feels like they are slightly better, and there's not an obvious way to continue, sometimes the one side that is slightly better tends to use a bit more time to prove that they've got something going. And yeah, if you look at the timestamps, Ray has got 15.5 minutes, 15:34, and Hans Niemann is on 1 hour and 16 minutes. So it's a huge difference. I mean, it's an hour difference. All right.
It's not an easy position to navigate. We can understand because he's obviously he's been trying to find a way to break the position.
Yes.
And apparently calculating different variations and ideas. And
how much to risk and what not to risk, right?
Exactly. And black is reacting. Once you do something, black can just react like a4, okay, a5, but you need much more time and energy to produce a4. So it's a very interesting dynamics that always happen in chess.
Yeah, very interesting. And I mean, also, Ray, besides the fact that he's got a good result against Hans, this was played a couple of years ago. I mean, he is playing someone that is really making inroads onto the chess scene.
Exactly. Higher rated.
Exactly.
And for tournament standings, playing a good tournament.
Yes.
And so on and so on. Yeah. Interesting.
And we see something interesting. And I was watching a bit of live commentary yesterday, where the commentators, Yasusaro, one of them were mentioning the fact that Ray has got a good score against Hans, and that at this very moment, Ray spent a lot of time, even though he was already an hour behind on the clock, he spent a lot of time. And I guess this was the moment where you need to decide, are you going to accept the seemingly draw offer, right? Or do you play on? And Ray does something amazing. He spends about 10 minutes and then finally decides to play on with c5.
This for me is a very, very nice and interesting decision. It means then, it also, as you're explaining it, it's fantastic mentality, because the point is that it means then that we can easily conclude that Ray thinks he's the one. He sees that Hans is improving and wants to take over as the strongest player in the States, but he actually is saying, but I'm the one who's going to take over.
Nice.
So he wants to prove it. He wants to, I think this is a very risky decision, and it shows a brilliant fighting spirit.
I think it's brilliant, yes. We often see youngsters being content if they have some type of stronghold position against the stronger player, and they are very satisfied with the draw, but you have to push to reach higher positions, right? So yeah, excellent pushing or fighting spirit here by Ray. c5, interesting stuff is happening here. So black takes the pawn. I'm just glancing very quickly here. What's happening? Can black maybe take on d1 and then on b3?
Well, let's have a look at it. Let's say rook takes d1, then so white must make a decision. Okay, but my rook is gonna get to the 7, so I think rook takes d1.
Right? And then if queen takes b3, are we just playing rook d7?
d7. Yeah.
Our king has got space here. We can attack.
Yeah. We just have to assess. This is just brilliant.
Yeah. This is nice.
So what happens then if black does not take on d1, but
just go straight away?
Straight.
Do you have EB1 or does that still go? What do you do?
Possible, because we've got b6. It's a question. What's happening in this position? Also, very nice, interesting idea just crossed my mind was something like e6, but I think it's pushing it.
You do have that in reserve, right? So.
Yeah. Because
I don't know. I like rook b1. I don't know what
else. Rook b1, okay. Yeah. But I was thinking, okay, we'll look at rook b1, but I also think about e6. Let's say
e6 is directly, okay.
Yes. My idea is that, I have in some positions rook d7, and I reach the same thing. On the 7th.
Okay, nice.
And then if you take, I get my pawn as an
idea.
What
is black doing now? I mean, this e6 is cutting out the queen, right?
Exactly. I want to cut out the queen, and then And then I want to play something like maybe bishop d4, queen e5 as an idea, as another second idea.
Nice.
And
Okay,
I've
now
got
you're
a lot to work
convincing
with.
me. Now you're convincing me, yeah. I mean,
It's a lot to
just
work.
for example, if black gets greedy already, something like rook d7, right?
Yeah.
It looks
It's a
brilliant.
very dangerous position.
Okay,
Yeah. It looks. I wouldn't want to be black in this
nice.
position. Maybe the
Okay,
computer can find a way there, but it looks very
it seems
dangerous.
like white's got enough to work with in this position, right? So, okay, so
Yes.
c5 was played.
Mhm.
Hans decided to take. And you know what? The interesting thing is, and this is something, I don't know if Ray did it on purpose or maybe he was just, of course, fighting and deciding inside himself, should he play on or not. But a lot of times we see that the one side that is really low on the clock, he gets nervous, or one side gets down on the clock and then the other side tends to get nervous as well. And then they start playing
Yes.
this time pressure, right? So from this moment on, because Ray is indicating he wants to fight, might have come to a bit of a shock as Hans psychologically, but for some reason he started playing a bit not so strong here. Hans, bishop c5 perhaps is the start of, or the culprit here.
I checked here with the engine in this position before bishop c5. Kelvin. And the
What should black
engine
do?
wants to play c5 here.
C5. I mean,
And
it's not an easy move to find, eh? C5. What's that?
yeah,
Playing rook d4 at some point.
well, look, I mean, it's not easy to find, but okay, white is still better, of course. But I think you can knuckle down and say, look, I can defend, and holding the squares and so on.
Not easy with the bishops and the pawns on the dark squares. White having extra pawn on the right. So, I mean, the bishop c5 looks like a human move, but apparently, like you said, it's not the best. C5 better.
Yeah.
Bishop h4. Okay, that does open up that. I think this bishop was waiting the whole game to get onto that diagonal, right?
Yeah, this rook tpa to me is like a very strange decision. I mean, okay, why don't you go back with the bishop? Why don't you play bishop d7? I mean, of course, then it means maybe bishop h4, but I don't know. I think, okay, black is obviously worse, but not losing. But I think if you're gonna play, now it shows nerves. I mean, Hans didn't hold his nerves here. I mean, rook b8.
Is he maybe trying to keep the position more complicated instead of allowing Ray to trade some pieces? And
look, it's the problem is that it's also
2 minutes on the clock.
I think his ambition more than anything betrays him, because Ray's got 2 minutes on the clock, and he feels like, okay, maybe if I play bishop e7, it becomes. I think he also makes a decision here, Hans. He thinks and says, okay, I'll take my risks.
Yeah.
I want to keep the position so that
maybe
he can
still win, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He's trying to maybe get a win, but after rook b8, rook d3, he's completely misassessed the position.
Yeah.
Because now rook d1 is coming. This is just trouble.
Rook b4, allowing that. Oh my.
Nah, this is done. It's finished now. Bishop is a very nice move, cutting the queen off defense. I like the way he plays this, because if you want to attack, you want to make sure that your opponent cannot bring their queen in to defend. And if you look at how he does this, rook d7, then bishop f6, the queen is cut off.
Very nice.
It's just sitting on e6, but actually it's out of the game in terms of defense.
I think the queen has played a good role as a blockader in this game, but nothing else.
Blockader.
Right? Queen is just a blockader there on e6.
Blockader, yeah. So queen g3 is coming, and this is trouble, yeah.
Yeah, so Hans grabs on f4 in this scramble here, and queen g3, and just over resigns. This queen g6 coming, and Hans collapsed here, and notice that Ray's got 37 seconds on the clock, and Hans has got 58, almost 59 minutes. So, oof.
Yeah. It's you see, I think this is actually a very big test for Hans, and it's always about. I think it's for both youngsters. I think for Ray to win, it's good for him, because now he says, look, I'm the one. I want to take over.
Yeah.
And I think for Hans, it's a question of Look, I mean, someone like because if you are very confident and you always want to win, you are putting yourself out there. You are risking a lot. You take the decisions, and the most important thing now, though, I feel is it's the thought process afterwards. Are you going to say to yourself, I mean, I got bent now, or are you going to say, okay, look, I mean, I tried and maybe I should have done it better. So it's important. It's a very important moment because how you adjust to this is going to determine in future how you're going to handle such positions.
Yeah.
And sometimes it could be positions that are favorable for you to play on. But because now you've got this experience and you suffered and you didn't process it properly, you find out that you're always backing down instead of going for it. So it's a very thin line and very important and very interesting to see how
so Hans react to that, right? Yeah. Interesting stuff. So I think Ray Robson, one can almost say, is Hans's kryptonite for now. It's out for Hans to prove otherwise. That certainly, if you look at the standings, of course, Hans is a point behind the lead. So I mean, if he had a draw from this game, it would have been very close. But okay, it's always what if. Anything could happen after.
But it was a painful defeat. It was a painful defeat. Yeah.
Yes. So that is our crucial game that we looked at for today in the US Championships. Watu, anything else from your side? Is that enough nonsense for today?
That's enough nonsense for today from my side, Kelvin.
Okay, me too. Same here, Watu. So viewers, if you liked what you've seen, don't forget to press the subscribe button, share and like and comment, and we will see you for the next one. Cheers.